Hi, everybody. Welcome to Destination Jackpot, where we unlock the secrets to traveling better, smarter, and in style. I'm Shannon, and today we're going to deep dive into the world of points, miles, and one of the most powerful tools on a world travel, the ANA Around the World Ticket. And joining me is the true wizard of award bookings, Brian Cohen, the founder and CEO of Award Magic. If you've ever dreamed of flying around the world in business class using points, this is the episode you do not want to miss. You're about to learn how to travel around the world, a value of over, I believe, $50,000 for nearly free, just by understanding and organizing your credit card game. But the time is running out on this one. Brian's going to tell us about it. It is an incredible opportunity. So stay tuned to that part later in the interview. We originally were going to book a trip from next year to Greece and Italy, and then we found this offer, and it made me be sure to get in touch with Brian so that I could figure out how to get this thing booked. And we've, I think, achieved that. So I'm excited to share that with you guys today. Make sure, everybody, that you're subscribed to all of our socials. The links are in the bio. And if you haven't already, join our private Facebook group, Destination Jackpot Family. That is where we will connect with you on a more personal level and where we can all share our best travel wins, our foodie finds, and help each other on this incredible journey. And kind of think of it as a VIP lounge for sharing stories, tips, and laughs, and maybe a few secrets. And you might even find Brian in there. Dares enough to join us, right?
I'd
So
love to.
I would love for you to be in there, Brian. So now, before we jump into the tips and tricks, let's get to know Brian a little bit better. He has helped thousands of travelers turn their dream trips into reality, and he's seen it all. So, Brian, will you tell us a little bit about how you got started in this fascinating world and how Ward Magic came to life?
Sure thing. Yeah. So, first of all, thank you for having me on Destination Jackpot. I'm super excited. Our conversations have already been pretty stellar as I am getting a little bit into the casino world myself. So, I'm hoping to learn more from this experience and our future experiences together.
So we can help each other. That's a win-win.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's how it works. So, I should add one caveat. I did not technically found Award Magic. I did buy the company, but I'll start a little bit before then. I actually used to be a high school math and computer science teacher. For 14 years, I worked with high school kids in Philadelphia and New York, and I really enjoyed doing it. I love working with kids. I am a huge nerd, so math is a big part of my forte. But during all of that, I had certain breaks and I wanted to go places. And so I was learning slowly back in like 2012, 2013 that the award miles I had been earning, or more realistically, my parents had been earning, could be useful for travel. And the first time I ever flew in a lie flat seat was because my mom lent me or gave me a bunch of US Air miles. For those who remember US Air, I live in Philadelphia now, so it's a former hub of US Air, now American. And I arrived completely rested. And I thought to myself, this is the way I should always travel. How do I do that? And I started reading. I read blogs, I read Facebook groups, I went to conferences, conventions, I met people. And over the course of the past 10, 15 years, I have gained all kinds of knowledge so I can travel to Singapore in business class. I've gone to Australia first class a couple times, South Africa, Europe, like all over the world. And I really enjoy doing it. So when I was deciding to leave the classroom in June of 2022 and the opportunity to buy Award Magic came up, I thought, well, I've been considering founding my own company. Why not start not from scratch and just continue building on something that another person started? So a friend of mine now, his name is Ari Charlstein. He did found Award Magic back in 2011. I took over in June of 2022. And since then, I've been having a great time working with clients all over the globe, literally some folks from India, Australia, whatever, get in contact with me from time to time. And I have a great time helping people learn how to earn their points and then use them wisely to get these amazing experiences that they'll never forget with the points they sometimes do.
That sounds like so much fun. And I still have not been in a lay flat seat. Mike may not be as opposed to world traveling or those long haul flights if he can do a lay flat seat and arrive rested. So I'm so excited to learn about this. So tell us a little bit about who is Award Magic for?
Sure. So The folks I tend to work with usually have more flexible schedules, but really Award Magic is for anybody who either wants to earn points. I do consultations with folks to figure out which credit cards make sense to have, which ones don't. What do you use this credit card for, that credit card for, which we'll talk about a bit later this episode, just so they can earn the points either quickly or sustainably. And then on the spending side, me and my staff, I have some folks who work with me as well, we figure out how to leverage the best version of those points. So maybe you have Chase points and American Express points, and you want to book this flight to Tokyo. You're not sure which ones to use. We will tell you which ones to use because it will be fewer of them or less dollar amount in taxes, whatever the case may be. I was just literally up until we started filming today, I was talking to a client about his Japan booking for literally next April and strategizing which points to use.
Which
So
it's important to plan ahead, right?
yeah, it gives him all kinds of options that he wouldn't normally have. So having that kind of strategizing helps you use the points wisely and, most importantly for me, save the points for your next trip. Because I always want my clients to be going on trips whenever they can, because the world is an amazing place to learn and experience, and I think everybody should.
And I can't wait. I've only been to Mexico and Canada, so this is going to be a huge one for us, and I'm
Yeah.
so excited about it to expand my worldly travel. So, do you have a memorable booking that you want to share with us?
Yeah. So a lot of the cool things that I get to do happen last minute. This one was for a client, I think he was booking, I don't know, sometime like 6 months ago or so, trying to get from somewhere on the West Coast to Japan. Japan's a hot place to go. People love going there. And I was having some trouble because oftentimes you cannot find cheap business class tickets. You could spend 250,000 United miles each to fly United there and back. That's fine. That exists. But if you'd rather spend like 75,000 points, that's fewer and far between. So luckily I set some alerts and I was checking at the right time and I had his phone number to call him and I found him 2 first class seats on ANA, this amazing airline that we're also going to talk about later, from San Francisco to Tokyo. And I think it cost him, what did we spend, like 90,000 or 100,000 Cathay Pacific miles, no, it wasn't Cathay Pacific, Air Canada miles, to get him to Tokyo. And he got to do not just lie flat seat, but imagine a cubicle that's just yours. And
Even better.
Maybe there's no one sitting across from you, so you have your bedroom and you have your living room, and people are constantly bringing you food or drinks whenever you want, and you just get to really relax. So the flight actually becomes part of the experience of your vacation, which is now how my wife and I look at it. We want to experience something fun on the way there and when we arrive. So that was just an amazing time I could do for that guy.
That's so much fun. Mike would even like it better if we could fly like that. So I cannot wait for this, Brian. I'm so excited. And viewers, just to give you a little bit of a roadmap, we're going to be talking today about credit cards, maximizing your travel, your cash back, and of course, that amazing ANA around the world trip that's about to go away. So you're going to want to make sure and listen to this. This is just the first in our series of videos that we'll be doing with Brian. And trust me, you don't want to miss any of them. So be sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of those. And just for a quick reminder before we get into this, playing this credit card debt game does not work if you're carrying a balance and paying interest on your credit cards. Because then you're just paying for it. This strategy only works if you pay your credit cards off in full every single month and avoid that interest. If that's not where you are right now, then this may not be the move for you yet, but it gives you something to strive for. So just want to make that very, very clear because that's when people get into trouble and we don't want anybody to do that. So we pay ours off every single month. I know you do, Brian, as well. And so really, I truly am getting this for free. I could take my money and spend it at the grocery store and pay cash on my debit card, or I can take that money and put it on my credit card and be smart about it and pay it off at the end of the month. And then I'm getting these wonderful trips and incentives and cash back. And it truly makes my money go further, which is what we want at Destination Jackpot to help you guys do. So anyway, so quickly, be sure if you like our content, hit that like button, drop us a comment, and don't forget to share and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. All right, so now for the fun stuff. The ANA Around the World ticket is one of the best kept secrets in award travel. I found Brian when I heard of this ticket, this coming to an end, and I quickly contacted him and got myself and Mike 350,000 American Express points so that we could do this trip. And I did that in just a few weeks. Now, we had a big spend, a couple of big spends coming up, so we could do that. So that was easy for us to meet those spends. And those points, shockingly to me, they went onto my account within a week. I mean, before my first statement even came out. So I think we have 353,000 miles now to play with and plan this trip. So I used the American Express Blue business card, the American Express Gold business card, and the American Express Business Platinum to earn these points. Super fast to hit that minimum spend. So Brian, will you break it down for us? What makes this ticket so special? So what is an ANA Around the World ticket?
Sure thing. So we'll start just with the name. ANA is the name of the airline. It stands for All Nippon Airlines. They're based in Japan, and they are very well and very good in terms of their service, amazing physical product, and that's the first class flight I was able to get my client on. It was amazing. I also recently got to take that plane too, and my God, I loved every minute of it. Didn't want it to end. So the Round the World ticket is a special product that they offer that some other airlines have also offered in the past or different versions, but this was always the best one for this reason. When I book clients round trip business class tickets to Europe, usually it costs around 120 or 140,000 points per person. I'm saying points in general. It's not ANA points or Air Canada miles. This is an average of a variety of different types of points. So keep that number in your head. That's just for a flight there and back. For that same amount.
To one place.
To one place, right, yeah. Or maybe you fly into Zurich and you fly out of Frankfurt, right? But you're just going to that same area in Europe. For that same amount of points, or maybe even a bit fewer, you could get up to 12 business class flights around the entire globe as long as you follow the rules that they set out. So 12 instead of 2. I think that's an incredible deal. And even though, yes, you do end up paying more in taxes, because anytime you use points for a booking, you also pay taxes. On average, you might be spending like $100 per flight in taxes, which for a business class ticket is incredible.
Right.
That's why it's such an amazing deal.
That's why we decided to, instead of going just to Greece and Italy, to take advantage of this trip before it goes away. It just made sense, and we have the flexibility to do it, and we get to bring it to the channel. So that's so exciting.
True. Yeah. And we should probably mention it is disappearing at the end of June. I think June 23rd, I believe, is the last day you can actually book it, or maybe June 24th. I would not recommend waiting that long, because chances are they are going to have very long hold times. You have to book it over the phone. And already there are long hold times of an hour to an hour and a half every time I call. So just be warned, do it before then.
Wow. I guess you get to get a lot of work done while you're on hold, right? So
True.
what do you mean do it before then? Like when would you last, like you need a plan. There's a lot of planning. We've been planning this for a couple of weeks already, and we haven't even booked anything. So you really need to get in contact with Brian as soon as possible. But you're drop dead. What do you think date is to really get this ticket booked?
So I was trying to think about when I'm going to have my cutoff date. I think I won't be doing any bookings past, let's say, June 20th, because I don't want to spend the rest of my days on hold. Possibly a bit earlier, because I'm technically going to be on a trip at that point. I have to negotiate some things with my wife and my family. But I wouldn't suggest doing it anytime past June 20th or so. Now, that does limit you. One of the rules is you cannot book tickets more than 1 year in advance. So technically speaking, if you book on June 20th, your last flight is going to have to be on June 19th the following year. You can't even get a flight that late. So there are some limitations with the rules, which we will also get to soon.
So we better get to booking. We're going to do that today. So how many of these tickets have you booked? A lot?
I've done a lot. I've done probably a few dozen since I bought the company. And it's always fun every time because I get to talk to the client, and sometimes they really want to go to one place, but then they talk to their family and realize, actually, it's a different place. And it's a puzzle you have to piece together. So in the past week, I've worked with 7 different clients, which normally I do 1 or 2 a month. So it's kind of insane right now. And each of them wants to go to different places. There's the Galapagos in South America, but then how do you get from South America over to Europe? Because you can only use certain airlines. And that's kind of a fun puzzle to piece together. And then how do you get from Europe over to Southeast Asia? And then from there, maybe you get to Australia, or maybe you go to Tokyo and then home. It's just this fun, like I said before, I'm a math teacher, so I love these kind of puzzle things and problem solving. So for me, it's enjoyable to figure out, okay, where and when can I get these people to certain places?
That's exciting. So you only do the the flights. You don't do the hotel or help with trains or planes or I mean, other than planes. You only do planes.
I deal officially with flights. Now, unofficially, if someone asks me if I've been to one of those locations, I'll tell them my experience. I've been to, I think, 61 countries across the globe right now and counting them. I'm hoping to hit the Century Club, people who've visited 100 countries or more. So if someone says, what's it like to take a train in Tokyo, I'll tell them it's incredibly easy. They come on time. If they're ever delayed by 2 seconds, they apologize for it, things like that. And I can tell them if I liked this hotel that I went to in the Seychelles, I'll talk about that. But I don't have the expert knowledge of which Hilton versus Marriott versus Hyatt you should be in Bali or something. I don't know that as
Okay.
detailed.
Okay, very good. So you're going to have to do a lot of other planning, just so you know, after you get these tickets booked for your excursions and where you're going to stay and how you're going to travel in between.
Hmm.
Where Ryan can give you a little bit of guidance on that. He won't be able to help you completely, but we do have some other resources for that. So hopefully that'll come in handy as well.
Hmm.
So how long can these trips be? A minimum to a maximum?
All right. So minimum 10 days, maximum 1 year. But I would really recommend doing it in the few weeks to few months time period in order to have the flexibility you need to get what you want. And what I mean by that is sometimes there's a route that is so rare to find an award ticket on, let's say between Frankfurt and Singapore, that if you find that day available, you should probably structure the rest of your trip around that one particular day's flight. And that might mean moving something a little bit later, something a bit earlier, whatever it is. So if you don't have that much flexibility because you're trying to do this trip in 2 weeks, you may not get exactly what you want. And I have a client right now from last week who wants to do this trip in 3 weeks, and I was honest with them, saying I'm going to do my best, but with that lack of flexibility of time, you might take one or two economy tickets that you might not normally if you could have flown 2 or 3 days later or earlier.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to talk a lot about the around the world trip today, just to be clear, but we are also going to talk about which credit cards to be using for what. So stay tuned and don't miss that part of the video. It's going to be important to everybody. So you could do this in, I think you said 12 stops are allowed, but you could do
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 if you just want to do 2 or 3 or 4.
True.
And
True.
do
Yeah.
it.
There are
They,
certain rules that you have to follow in order to do it.
yeah.
One of them is you have to cross both oceans, Atlantic and Pacific. It could be going east or going west, that doesn't matter. But usually that means that you're not going to take a flight from, let's say, New York all the way to India or Singapore. That's not necessarily going to count. So the minimum flights, I think I've booked someone on this was like 4 flights, and the maximum is up to 12. You can technically stop at the end of every flight, but only 8 of those stops can be more than 24 hours. So that's
Oh,
one,
okay.
no,
Okay.
only 8. Those are called stopovers. Anything below 24 hours is called a layover. And so some people strategically, they will arrive in the morning in one particular location. Let's say it's Delhi, and they have the whole day in Delhi, and maybe they fly out that night to their next destination, or maybe they get a hotel and sleep over and fly out the next morning. As long as it's below 24 hours, you're good. It's a layover, and it does not count towards that 8 stopover count.
Very good. And have you done this trip yourself?
Ironically, I have not.
Oh,
My wife and I, when we were considering our honeymoon, I talked about it with her, and we didn't actually have enough time to plan the trip and our wedding at the same time.
right.
So we decided not to, and instead do a honeymoon that was still 7 weeks long and visited 10 countries. But we were booking it as we went, which you can't do with the round the world ticket. So I don't actually think I'm going to get to take one of these before they
Oh,
end.
that
Uh,
stinks.
it stinks, but we have ways of getting points that we no longer are concerned about being as conservative with our points.
Well, and I think that's important too. And that's another reason you're going to want to listen to our upcoming interviews with Brian because he's going to show us some of those ways.
Mhm.
So even if you can't do this around the world ticket, you're going to be able to see how we plan and how he does this, but also how we can work on getting some of those points, being creative with it and knowing which ones you want to save up for and how to do that credit card spend. So that's going to be fun and exciting. I'm very excited about this series for sure. Okay. So we're going to walk through a quick version of planning our dream trip that we're working
Sure.
on, Brian. We've done a little bit of pre-planning, but I want you to see how his services actually work. So I've sent him an email We've talked a couple of times on the phone so we could kind of narrow it down. I've given him Mike's restrictions, which are he doesn't want to be gone for 3 months. I'm going to try to get him to be gone 7 weeks or 8 weeks because I think that's what we're going to need. He doesn't want to be rushed. And if he has to do a long haul flight, he wants to be sure that he's in comfortable seating because he's really nervous about that. So those were his restrictions that we talked about with him. And we're even going to be able to work, I think, a cruise in there that we're going to be able to book through UR Comped. So it'll be a comped cruise from Greece to Italy or Italy to Greece, back and forth. It'll be one way. So that's one of the creative ways that we're going to save some money. So our goals after we work with Brian are to continue to work on our credit cards for the next year. We're going to show you a little piece of that later on in the video today, so that we can maximize our points that we've already established, that we've already got with different places, but work toward paying for most of our lodging with points, and even getting some cash back. Like I know one of my Discover cards has $1,700, $1,724, and that is going in the bucket for this trip to offset my expenses while we're there, for our dining and excursions and those kind of things. So we have 1 year to continue to build that up. We're going to talk more about that in this episode and even deeper later. So you'll want to see that. So Brian, you want to pull up that original email that I sent you so we can show everybody. And this is in no particular order because I am geographically challenged since I've never traveled the world. I'm definitely a learn by as I go. I'll know it a lot better when we get back. But these were just some basic places: Greece, Italy, Maldives, Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, Norway, Ireland, Scotland. And I would love to do an African safari, but I don't think we're going to make that happen on this trip. And then I kind of put together what I was thinking and said, for sure, I'm open to suggestions. Maybe we could do 8 to 10 days in Ireland, Scotland, Paris, London, French Alps. Our goal on this trip is to not be rushed, but also to not to see highlights of these places so that we know where we want to plan trips in the future. So that was kind of where we were going with that. Then we want to do a 10 or 11-day cruise that's going to go from Greece to Italy, one way, Barcelona. We'll see a few places in Greece, Turkey, and then end in Rome, Italy. And since that was the big trip that we really wanted to do, we want to spend some time after that exploring through Italy and taking our time. Since we're so passionate about wine, that's one of the biggest places that we're super excited about joining. Love to go to Monte Carlo because, of course, we do a lot of gambling on this channel, and I would love to find some different casinos to bring you some highlights of along our way. So I put those things in there. Switzerland, Austria, and Germany would be great to work into the trip, but it's not a must. I've always wanted to do Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, but again, that's not a must. I definitely want to hit the Philippines, either for the beaches or Manila for the city, the culture, and the landmarks, only for a few nights. I just want to see the Philippines. So I'd like to try to work that in there. And then I said Australia or New Zealand. I understand that we are not going to have a lot of time to spend in either one of those places, and Australia is a trip of its own. But I'd like to hit a hot spot or a really cool spot, and then really see if we want to go back to some of those places. So that's pretty much what I gave you when I sent you that email, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that you guys have seen kind of our list, let's talk about what do we do next?
Sure. So we've had, like you said, we've had a bit of a conversation about this already. And when I work with round the world ticket clients, I always ask them to send me something like this at first anyway. I just want to know what are the must-haves and then what are the nice-to-haves. So in our conversation, I know definitely need to get you over to Rome and Barcelona, one way and other direction for the cruise. And also definitely want to get you over to Paris, London, the UK, that region, and then eventually to the islands in Australia and New Zealand. And the other stuff might be stops along the way, depending on what I can do. So when I look at these things, I usually think about the routes I already know exist because I book a lot of flights for people every single day. And I know that there are relatively inexpensive ways of flying on a ticket, like on United from Chicago, San Francisco, Houston, Newark, those are hubs for United, to London. And since United is a part of the Star Alliance, that is what ANA allows you to book. Maybe that's how we get you to London. on United, and that would be relatively inexpensive. Or maybe instead of there, we start you in Switzerland because that's a bit closer to Barcelona and Rome and whatnot. And you could fly Swiss Air from, I don't know, Washington Dulles Airport or also Chicago. They have a few different airports they fly from to Zurich, or get you on Austrian Airways to Vienna. So it just depends on how far in advance you're booking and what restrictions exist. So we've talked about you doing this trip next year, literally next April and May, which
We
means
gotta
some of the flights are actually not even available right now. When
Right.
I was doing some searches for examples for this YouTube video, I found that, much like I knew before, United doesn't allow you to see more than 11 months of flights in advance, 330 days to be specific. So right now, I can only see up until mid-March or the end of March for United flights to go to London, which means if we're booking this a year in advance for you, it's possible I won't be able to get you on United to London, and instead we will have to do an airline like Swiss Air or Lufthansa, because those you can book 350 something days in advance, right?
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
where my brain goes, right? Which
We're literally almost exactly a year out right now because we want to go mid to third week of April.
right, right. And the other aspect of the round the world ticket that's really important, people don't often know, you have to book it all at once. So we are probably going to be booking when the end dates of your trip come available in the calendar, which is likely not going to be until early June. So it's possible that if you start in April next year and we're booking in June of this year, we will be able to see some of those flights to London. It really just depends on if United's going to be nice and offer what they call partner availability to ANA. Not every airline does. Sometimes they have restrictions. That's one of the puzzle pieces to put together. So I was kind of thinking of a few different ways to get you to Europe for this cruise, and then from Europe to go east and end up in Australia, New Zealand, and then fly home from there. That's kind of where my brain was going.
Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at what you got.
Sure. So, okay,
I'll
let
look at
me.
this today, and then we're going to kind of come up with a plan, and then you'll send us itineraries, and we'll come up
Mhm.
with a few different ones. Is that how that's going to work? And
Yes, exactly. So when I start actually planning the trip and creating an itinerary for you, the things that I do is start by searching on Star Alliance carrier websites, like the United website will often have certain things available that other websites won't. It's a nice way of looking at things because it gives you a 30-day calendar window. And so what I did here was start by looking up, trying to get from, let's say, New York to London. That might be one of the first places I look because it is such a common route for people that there are multiple flights a day. So I did look up this morning. Let's see if it's still there. Two people traveling from New York to London. I'm looking up March 4th, but obviously for your trip, I would look up the date that you actually want to leave. And what I'm looking for is a specific code that the airline offers partner award tickets when it pops up. It's this little code I that it says next to the flight cost. So you can see here, once it finishes loading, it has various different options: economy, premium economy, and business class. And you can see this code where it says, let me get the annotation tool actually. Oops. Why am I? Oh, I see. Okay. This annotation tool right here, it says United Business Class, United Polaris Business, JN. That is not the code that allows partners like ANA to use it. That's the internal code that United uses when it's trying to price things. So I'm going to just sort this. I click on the top of the list here. And United's website is notorious for being ridiculously slow. It's very annoying because it has some strengths and some weaknesses, but this is a weakness. When it resorts, it should take this flight right here and pop it up to the top. You can see
okay.
it's 80,000 miles, and where I circled, it says United Polaris Business I. This one, I can add to the round the world ticket. So maybe the first flight you take would be United from Newark to London. It's a very comfortable business class seat. They've upgraded almost all of their planes, definitely on the planes going to London because it's a premium route. And you'll arrive rested. You'll have slept maybe 6-ish hours on the way. It's not a long, long flight to get a huge night's sleep, but you get wined and dined in the lounge at Newark. You even get another meal on the plane if you want it. Sleep, lie flat, arrive, get breakfast, and then go through customs. You're on your merry way in London, right?
So excited. Cannot wait. What
So
would it
great.
look like going Houston to London? Is that not as popular of a flight since Houston is United Hub and that's where we live?
So Houston's not as popular. I did look up Houston.
Okay.
We can look it up right now and see. The website's being a little, glitchy, so we'll see if it pops up things. Um, But United, the popular routes, the ones that have more flights, are more likely to have that partner award ticket availability. And that's something we'll talk a little bit about when talking about crossing the Pacific Ocean, which is very difficult to do with points. So you can see here there are, looks like 2 nonstop flights between Houston and London, and both of them say JN. They do not
Okay.
say that partner I. So
Okay.
I would definitely look for it, and I did this morning when I was testing this out, but I couldn't find it.
So it looks like we're going to have to go to New York and then travel from there, which is okay.
Potentially, yeah. It could be New York or Chicago. I would try to find something closer to you, obviously. And award availability is constantly shifting. So whenever I call into ANA to do the actual booking, usually I ask them, can you just check, these other airports, see if something magically opened up in the past half an hour? Because sometimes it does.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know.
Very
So I would do this option as one. Another option I was looking at is the one I suggested using, I think Swiss Air. Oh no, sorry. It was TAP Portugal Airlines. So one of the things that usually I try to have folks consider is that flying across the Atlantic Ocean could have some higher costs depending on which airline you use. So United doesn't have that much tax that they add to the round the world ticket, but an airline like Lufthansa or Swiss Air or Austrian Airlines, those do have higher taxes. So if you're trying to reduce how much money you're spending in cash extra, you want to fly an airline like United or like TAP Portugal Airlines to get across. So this is what I'm doing here. Because United's view doesn't see more than 11 months in advance, I go to Air Canada. I'm searching for April 7th right now because that's what I checked this morning that had something for TAP Portugal Airlines across the Atlantic. And hopefully it's still there. And it won't show the same code that United does, but I know because TAP Portugal Airlines is not Air Canada, that if it's showing up on the Air Canada website, that means it does have a partner award ticket available. So it looks like someone else took it because there were 2 or 3 of them when I checked this morning. But you can see there's other airlines you could take to cross the Atlantic. You could take LOT Polish Airlines across, going to Warsaw and then backtracking to Zurich. I'd probably not recommend that because you're going too far and coming back. You could also take Egypt Air to go to Cairo and loop back. Again, I wouldn't do that because it's extra time. But this is how I check to see if something is available. And then I know there's certain numbers, 70,000 to cross the Atlantic with Air Canada means partner award ticket. 90,000 means a bit farther partner award ticket. But this is the basic gist of what I'm trying to find, something where I look.
Very cool. Okay.
And then the last thing I do, if I want to really double check that it's available, this is ANA's website, and they have a section to search their own award tickets. And what I'm going to do is I'll search for that same United flight that I saw before from New York to London on March 4th of next year. Oop, went too far. Business class, 2 passengers, and right, I have to log in, sorry. Ideally, it'll show up. Let's see if ANA's website is doing what it should be doing. And it is, right there. You can even see it says United Airlines, business class. And it's the same exact flight. So now I have triple checked. Well, I've double checked, but normally I triple check. I check the United website, check the Air Canada website, check the ANA website, and now I can pretty much guarantee and tell the client this flight, as of literally right now, is available to add to your round the world ticket. If I were to call ANA right now, they would see it and they'd book it as a part of the ticket. So my job essentially is to find and double check that all of these exist, tell the client all of them exists, double check everything as much as I can, and then I call ANA to say, okay, let's book Newark to London. Let's book London to Zurich, Zurich to Bangkok, Bangkok to Auckland.
You have to do it all in one at one time. So you have to
All
have
at one time.
everything ready. That's right. Okay.
You have to have everything ready. And like I said, there's usually an hour-ish long hold time with ANA. So sometimes this flight that was ready this morning, like we saw, the one I saw was ready this morning, is not available now. So usually what I try to do is get the client on the phone or text or something when I'm doing my final search, make sure everything's approved, and call. And I still text with the client while I'm on the call in case a change has to be made.
Okay. Okay. Very good. And just so you know, we can leave as early as April 13th, I think.
Okay. All right. Great. I should actually, maybe I'll make a note of that.
Yeah. So I'm going to write that down too. Okay. So let's talk about sweet spots and creative routes. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I can talk about it in two ways. There's the round the world ticket sweet spots, and there's other sweet spots in general. Uh,
Okay.
I'll start with the round the world because we're just talking about that. I love it when I can get somebody across the Atlantic Ocean from the southern hemisphere. And the same thing for the going from Africa to Australia. If I can do that in the southern hemisphere too, it's kind of fun for me. So folks may not know it exists as much, but South African Airways is an airline. It's a part of the Star Alliance. And just before the pandemic happened, they received a couple of really nice new planes with new business class seats. Unfortunately, I think they've since gone bankrupt because of the pandemic, but they still fly a couple of long haul routes. One is between Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Johannesburg, and the other one is Johannesburg to Perth, Australia. And I forget, it's not every time of the year that new seat, that new plane is available, but if you can get it, you can fly from Sao Paulo to Johannesburg, and that's how you cross the Atlantic. You can fly from
Okay.
Joburg to Perth instead of having to go all the way north through the Middle East and then Southeast Asia to go to Australia. Just cross the Indian Ocean. So to me, that's a really fun thing to do. And I've booked, I think, two round the world tickets with that flight in mind. And I have a client right now who I also suggested it. He has to get back to me to see if he actually wants to fly in that direction. But I think it's really fun. And especially if you can get their newer business class seat, it's amazing on par with
Yeah.
other good business class seats out there. If you get the old one, eh, it's a lie flat seat. It's fine. Don't get me wrong. But I it might be worth it to, instead of going from Joburg to Perth, to go north, east, and south to get better seats if you want that experience. But that's up to the client, right? I never force anything on anybody. There was one time a client wanted to go to South Africa from the US and spent 495,000 Delta miles for the one ticket. I would never do that, but they really wanted to do it. So
Yeah.
from that lesson, I never restrict what I share with people. You can make the decision. I'll just tell you what's out there.
Right. So viewers, where would you go? If you could go around the world or anywhere in the world, drop in the comments where you would go and what you would see. And if you have any travel planning trips or best places that you've stayed or recommend, I'd love to hear that too. And share that with us. So I can't wait to see what creative routes we come up with. And some of this is like a surprise. Like I'm excited because I really trust you, and I really would love to go to South Africa or Africa in general. But it's not a must on this trip. But it's going to be fun to see where this lays. So if you maximize this trip, like I think that we will do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With all
Yeah, I
12
think so.
stops,
Yeah.
what do you think is an estimated ticket value? And explain how you get there.
Sure.
Hmm.
So to cross the Atlantic in business class, usually five-ish thousand dollars is the number that I usually think of in my head. Crossing the Pacific is often a bit more, six or seven. That's $12,000 already just from two of the flights that you're going to take. And then it depends on where else you go. So going to Australia means there's going to be some long flight between Europe and usually Southeast Asia. That's going to be another five, $6,000. And then Southeast Asia is actually still pretty far away from Australia and New Zealand. It's going to be another 8-ish hour flight. So that could be another five-ish thousand dollars. So already with those four flights, we're talking over 20 something thousand dollars per person. And then you can add some other short hops inside of Europe or inside Southeast Asia or between Australia and New Zealand. And each of those is probably $500 to $1,000. So if you do get, 12 flights entirely, you could be saving 30 something thousand dollars a person. So for a couple, over 50,000, I think, is a very valid valuation.
And could be up to 60 or 70,000 just for our flights. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I told Mike we can do this trip, so we have to do this trip. I mean, it's we have a destination jackpot channel, first of all, and we have the time to do this, and
Mm-hmm.
we have the points. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a total no-brainer. The hardest part for us is going to be being away from our kids in our home and our dogs. But I think we can handle that, and so can they, just to
Yeah.
make this reality. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. So that is how we got to the estimated ticket value. And then I can't wait to see how much more we save with our creative ways to get our lodging and our hotels and our cash to take on the trip. So I am a frugal traveler, but I like to have lots of fun. And that's going to be, it's just like a game. It's exciting. It's like my couponing that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so trust me, this trip is complicated, and that's exactly why Brian's small fee that he charges for this is worth every single penny. So again, if you're loving this content and you like what you see, please like, comment, and share and subscribe. We've got so much more coming your way. So Brian, do you have any more to add on this around the world ticket that we should talk about?
Probably the most important thing I would share is the last rule we didn't actually talk about is who you can book this for. So
Okay.
you are allowed to book anything with ANA miles for yourself, your spouse, or relationships with 2 degrees away from you. So you can do it for your grandchildren, your grandparents, your uncles and aunts, but you can't just do it with a friend. So that's
Okay.
one key thing to note. If you have you want to go with a friend somewhere, each of you would have to have points separately, and you'd have to book the same trip separately to go together. You can't put
Okay.
the points together and do it together. So that's one important thing to note. It's got to be within the quote family, and then you're okay booking one ticket.
Okay. So Mike and I are good, and we can do up
Yeah,
to our grandchildren.
yeah,
Is how that
yeah,
would work.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So now let's talk about credit cards and which ones are best for beginners, what hidden gems that you should know, and how we can go about that. We're not going to dive deep into this today, but in our next episode with Brian, episode 2, we're going to dive deeper. So be sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss that one because this one will apply to everybody.
Hmm.
Uh, and we're going to show you a quick look at mine and Mike's credit card spreadsheet that I sent to Brian. So Brian, you want to share that screen again?
There it is.
Okay, so this is what I did to easily show Brian what credit cards that we have. So also, Brian, you help people take and look at their credit cards and do an assessment, basically. Is that
Hmm.
correct? So tell us
Yeah.
about that again.
Sure. So one part of my business is points consultations to share with people what they should be doing with their current credit cards or what they should not be doing with their current credit cards. And then if they're open to it, either replacing or adding on. Because as a friend is fond of saying, the answer is always more credit cards. Uh,
Right.
I myself am ridiculous and have something like 35-ish credit cards under my name. My wife, I have convinced her she now has something like 13 or 14 under her name, and we keep growing that amount, sometimes cutting it down a little bit, but mostly growing because there's usually benefits that outweigh even an annual fee of $700 might make sense if you get the benefit of all of the bonuses.
Correct.
So that's how I lead my life. And my wife had a good suggestion of putting labels on all of our cards to specify which card should be used for which place. So we do that. That's our strategy. But in my consultations, I give specific suggestions of this card should be used for these things, this card for these things, and how do you maximize getting the highest sign up bonus possible? Do it this way. That's what I do.
And then you talk about next credit cards and what the strategy should look like there
Correct.
as
Yeah. And
well.
usually that recommendation will be valid for 6 to 9 months because the credit card companies, they want your business. So they're always offering some new deal here and there. Certain cards have higher bonuses right now than average. Others have lower bonuses than average. And if you're new to this, you might not know, but I read about this stuff every single day. So I can tell
Right.
you specifically which cards you should get now because the bonus is the highest it's ever been, and which you should hold off because chances are in 3 months, that card's going to have a higher bonus for you, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So Chase Sapphire credit card right now is the hot one. And that 150, is it 100?
It's a 100,000 point bonus with
100,000 points.
$5,000 in spending. Yep.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about that on our next episode as well. That is $1,000 value just straight out the box if you don't get creative with it, but it can
Mhm.
be a couple of $2,000 or $3,000 if you maximize that. Am I right?
Even more. I mean, what I was talking about crossing the Atlantic, you could use 60,000 of those points to get a Swiss Air flight across the Atlantic, and that value is $5,000 right there.
Right.
So you give me 100,000 points, I'll give you $10,000 worth of value.
Yeah, so that's why you want to use someone like Brian. If you don't have time to do this on your own, some of you do, but a lot of you won't because he can help you with those kind of things. So you'll really get a lot of value with him. And I'm so excited to partner with these different people that I trust. And I hope y'all see that we're using them personally. I'm not just doing a sales thing for
Mhm.
them. These are people that I want to work with, that I trust to take care of us. And so I trust them to bring you to Destination Jackpot to hopefully help you make more money to put in your pocket or to travel places that you would never be able to do. So that's our goal here. So what I did is I put together which current credit cards that we have, whose names were on them, what our annual fee is, the date that we opened the credit card, And this, some of our cards have 0% interest until, and I wanted to make note of that. Where to use, we're going to talk about that with Brian today, and he's going to put any notes in here. And then I put some notes over here to the side. I kind of tried to put like our American Express in green so he could see at a glance that those were all American Express. And then our Chase cards going on down are in blue, so that he could see that easily. Our Discover is in a different color. And then all the way down the bottom, there's our USAA cards. And so stop right there. So here I put in there that we don't have credit cards, but these are places that we can use points. So like our Wyndham timeshare, do not recommend anybody getting a timeshare, but we have enough points where we could probably do 5 weeks of stays. So I hope that we can use some of that when we're traveling abroad. And then also our RCI points, we have probably enough for 2 weeks. And then going on down a little bit, I went through, these are other just crappy credit cards that I just probably got to get a good percentage off of something. So those don't really matter, but I wanted him to see those and when they were opened. And then even down further than that, oh, I didn't put it in there.
That'd be it. Yeah.
I thought that I had in there our Wyndham,
This one
our
here.
Marriott. So my points didn't show up there. So I'll have to figure out what happened to that because I did have those numbers in there. So why don't you, while you're talking and going through kind of this sheet and how we can utilize this and look at where to use our cards, talk about that, and I'll see what those current
Sure.
points and types are.
Sounds good. So first of all, I love spreadsheets. In every workshop or presentation that I give, on one of my slides, it actually says spreadsheet lover. So I strongly believe everybody who has credit cards should have a spreadsheet like this with at least what Shannon has here for who is the primary user, what's the name of the card, the annual fee, when you opened it. I add other things to my spreadsheet, like which bank it's with and when the annual fee is due, etc. But it really depends on your needs. At the very
And
least,
I will be working on a spreadsheet for everybody, a blank one that they can download. And we'll probably be offering that to the members of our channel for a free download. So
Sure.
maybe Brian, you and I can create that and then we'll
Sure.
be working on the same thing.
That
So
sounds good. Yeah. So my focus is mostly on the credit cards that relate to points that can be used at airlines and hotels, or points that are earned or miles that are earned on specific airlines, those types of credit cards. So I know Destination Jackpot does a bunch of things with casino credit cards. I'm learning about that. We have a mutual friend, Justin, who was on this show before. He is teaching me a bit about those credit cards, and we'll see if I end up getting a couple of those to add to my portfolio. But in the meantime, I focus on the points earning ones that go for airlines and hotels. So the Amazon cards you have here are great to use on Amazon. If you're an Amazon purchaser, you get 5% back on most of these. That's a great use. It'll just put the money back in Amazon, which unless you have qualms with that, do it. 5% back is great. Now, some people like to focus on just the points and miles stuff, and they forfeit that. That's kind of our strategy because we don't buy stuff on Amazon that much. We don't have a business that requires that. It's just, honestly, I buy Fiber One cereal on Amazon every couple of months. That's what I do.
So where I have 3 or 4 packages a week delivered,
Right.
I totally use it. And then I save my points and save them and turn them in for Christmas. And I buy Christmas mostly through
Perfect.
Amazon. So that's how we use them. So it is an important one for our portfolio.
Right. And every portfolio is different. That's why when I do
Yes.
points consultations, it's always, per person or family unit. It's not a large
Right.
group. So the Amex cards, these are some of my favorite these days. When I started this journey, I started just with Chase cards, and I was using the Chase Ultimate Rewards ecosystem. Majorly, the people do that because Chase has a very restrictive rule with credit card signups called 524, that if you have signed up for 5 or more credit cards in the previous 24 months, you cannot get any new Chase cards. So usually the advice is start with Chase and then go to other stuff. But that really only applies if you're getting many credit cards over the course of 24 months. For my average client, they're not. They're going to get a couple of credit cards this year, maybe a couple of credit cards next year. So the advice that I give doesn't usually go in that direction. So getting these Amex cards is actually really beneficial because Amex cards tend to have these larger sign-up bonuses. You'll see this Amex business plan that Shannon has here is 150,000 bonus points. I wish we had gotten in touch a few weeks prior because that same card could get you 250,000 if you find the right link.
Yeah, it literally happened the week after I got the card.
Yeah, Sorry to hear that. I've gotten that card twice, and I've gotten literally 500,000 Amex points because of it, which is very nice.
But it is hard to find that link, but it is available now. So if you guys are
Yeah,
interested in it, contact Brian and he'll help you figure that out.
yeah, exactly. So that card mainly I find useful for the sign up bonus. I don't get as much use for it long term, but if you do want to keep it long term, it can be useful for certain business spending type things. And by that I mean like if you spend a lot of money at once, $5,000 or more at a time, you can get 1.5 times the points for that purchase from this card. So if you spend 5,000 bucks, you get 7,500 points, which is useful.
Yes,
Other
yes.
people, yeah, other people find it useful that when you use those points to book flights on the Amex travel portal, which is different from transferring points to airlines, you can get 35% points back, which Shannon noted here as well. You can do that if you buy business class flights on any airline or economy tickets if you specify a particular airline. So living in Houston, maybe you specify United if you fly them a lot because it's a hub. And anytime you fly United, you use your Amex points and get 35% back. Some people like doing that. I personally don't because I tend to do more long international travel with my points, so I reserve them for that. But it is a legitimate use. So it could be for local specific airline purchases with Amex points to get that 35% back. Like that could be a good use of the points. Otherwise, for spending, I probably wouldn't spend that much on it once you've met the minimum spending for the bonus, with the caveat that I actually have another spreadsheet that I call my credit card benefits tracker. This card gets you a couple of benefits. It gets you this weird $50 Hilton credit every quarter. It gets you a $10 a month wireless credit, so you could put your AT&T bill on it if you wanted to and get $10 back a month. You also get $200 of airline fee credit a year, which you could spend on checked bags somewhere if you don't have a credit card for that. So it's kind of a weird card. So I usually just use it for the sign-up bonus.
The platinum.
Yeah, the business platinum card. I'm not sure why I started with that one. I'm realizing it's at the bottom of the list of Amex cards, but it was
And
there.
it's 695, which is a steep, that's
The
steep.
steep annual fee, yeah.
But I think with that card that you get up to $150,000 of spend, your top two categories, you get 5 times points.
With that one, I think it's the Amex Business Gold that offers that. This one, I'm fairly certain it just gives you that 35% back and the 50% bonus with the large purchases, or some other categories you get 1.5 times the points, etc. The Amex Business Gold, it has a set of categories that if you spend the most on those categories, then you do get 4 times the points on whatever that category is. And they have a list. One of them is travel, one of them I think is gas or something. So in that list, maybe you focus on spending on one of those items.
Right.
One item in list of categories for 4 times bonus. Right? That could be a use of it.
So
This
for
one,
me, back on that platinum again. So for me, when I'm looking at this, here's a couple of ways that I use it. So the $200 airfare credit or hotel credit, which you mentioned, that helps offset that fee if you use it.
mhm,
Uh, I do my Walmart Plus there, so it's $12.95, and I get that $12.95 back. But I also think the American Express Business Gold gives you that credit as well, if I'm not mistaken. Then you get the $200 airfare fee, and then the $200 Uber Cash is a big deal when you travel as much as we
mhm.
do. So you can do, and then you get $15 back a month and $20 back in December. So those were the ways. I didn't find the Global Lounge exciting because you really have to do some big spending with that.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. I don't know if I can just, I think for us, we can figure out how to justify it. But for most people, they couldn't justify that 695. So if they opened it to get that Amex Platinum bonus, once they
Mhm.
hit it, then they can close that card, or how would you do that?
Great question. So you never close a card before 1 year. If you do, Amex is likely to claw back the points, which sounds weird. What if you've used them already? You might then have a negative balance in your Amex account and you have to spend money to get out of that negative balance.
Wow.
So what I do, whenever the annual fee comes due for my business platinum or actually my business gold card, I had one for a year. I canceled it in January. I found a new link that didn't have what's called lifetime language, usually you can only get an Amex bonus once in your lifetime, which interestingly translates to like 7 years, not your whole lifetime. But if you get a link that has no lifetime language, you can get as many of those cards as they'll approve. So I canceled my business gold in January. I literally got a new one in February because I found one with no lifetime language. So
Wow.
I got the same bonus. It was 200,000 points a year ago, and I got that same bonus. I think I'm going to get it in like 2 weeks. So you can kind of strategize. This is the kind of thing I do with clients of strategizing which cards should you cancel, which cards do you keep, and why, etc. So the business gold and business platinum I usually find only useful for the sign up bonus. And then for the year, I try to use those ancillary benefits like the Uber credit, the Amex Business Gold also gives some. Sorry, the Platinum Gold Business Platinum gives other things. I actually want to show my credit card benefits tracker. I was just looking at it to make sure nothing really personal was on it. But so this is my credit card benefits tracker, and I will zoom in a little bit because I know I keep it small. But you can see for each card, I have whatever the benefit was if I got it in that year or that month. So my business gold, I actually didn't have it in January and February. I only got it in March, I guess. So I got that $20 a month credit for FedEx, Grubhub, or office supply stores once a month.
Wow.
Now,
Nice.
I think it's hilarious. I have a Staples near me. I would go to a Staples, I would buy a Netflix gift card, and that pays for my Netflix. That's what I did. So my Amex Business Gold gave me free Netflix.
So
Paid me
how'd you
20
do
bucks
that?
per year.
Went to a Staples and did what?
I went to my Staples. Most Staples have a rack of gift cards, and I bought a $20 Netflix gift card. The Amex Business Gold reimbursed it to me because I bought it at an office supply store, and I put that gift card on my account. And I think it's like 17 bucks a month we pay for Netflix. So I got free Netflix for a month. And I
Wow,
kept
that's
doing that.
cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. And when I had more credit on my Netflix than I needed, I started buying Cheesecake Factory gift cards because they also count toward this bonus. And now my wife and I have like $100 of Cheesecake Factory credit to use.
Wow, nice. See, that you just got to be creative and figure out
Yeah.
ways to spend. Yes.
Yeah. And
Big
the
win for
business,
everybody.
right, the business platinum card, that airline fee credit, it has a Dell credit, although I think that's changing soon to like $150 something. I've never used the wireless credit because the wireless service that I use doesn't count. I use Mint Mobile. I like it. It's cheap, so I don't need the 10 bucks back. But something a bigger company like AT&T or Verizon, it would count. And then they just introduced the $50
So
Hilton credit
can I
at the end
share
of
right there with what I did?
Sure.
Because we do have a business, right? And we have two different, we have one phone for Destination Jackpot on an AT&T because we find that in some places AT&T works better.
Mm,
So you put the AT&T monthly bill on our platinum to get the
mm.
$10 wireless spin
Hey.
back. And then we put our big Verizon bill, which is our company. So we have several phones and iPads and different things on that card. I mean, on that account, it's like 400 and something dollars a month. And we paid to Verizon. We put that on our business gold card. So we get the 4 times points back
Mm,
on that spend.
that's great. Yeah. So you're really using that list of options, the list of categories. That's great.
But you
Yeah.
have to read that. And I think we're going to have a video coming up. I'm trying to get with an app that makes this a lot easier and has helped me a lot figure this stuff out. So hopefully be watching for that, guys.
Yeah.
But yes, that it's looking for those ways and I love your spreadsheet. That you have to share that with me.
Sure. Yeah, we can share that too. So the last Amex card you have here, the Amex Blue Business Card, is great for just general spending. I tell people the minimum points you want to be earning on every dollar is 2, and this card gets you 2 times the points on everything up to $50,000 a year. So 2 times.
Okay, so that's interesting. So then that would be better to use than my Chase Ink card that gives me just 1 point.
So really, yeah, this is where the strategy comes in. Which points do you want to be earning and how many, right? So for some people, if you easily earn American Express points, maybe you do want to be earning Chase points. But if you're just starting out and want to earn points as fast as possible, then yeah, use the Blue Business. And this depends on your comfort level. Some people are not comfortable using business cards for personal expenses and then separating the payments later. But if you are, you can do that. Just make sure you're doing everything legal. I'm not an accountant. I can't tell you it's legal or not, but I've read some things that says it's fine. So you get
Most
two
of
times the points and everything.
our business expenses in some
Yep.
way.
So I actually don't have that card because I have a different card that gives me 2 times the points in the Citibank ecosystem because I have ways of getting Amex points pretty easily I wanted to diversify, much like stock portfolio should be diversified. I also think a points portfolio should too.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes.
so we earn Citibank thank you points instead at a minimum of 2 points per dollar spent, basically.
Okay.
But
I don't
these
have
three
any.
cards, sorry?
I don't have any city cards.
Yeah, and maybe you don't need to at the beginning. Usually people start with Chase and American Express, and for many people that's fine. Every card has its own niche, and I think when we get to episode 2 and talk about specific credit cards, we can talk about why I care about Citibank points. There is a specific reason that I can
Okay.
go into in depth. Um, but for these three cards, these are great starter cards to get points quickly. These two, the Business Gold and Business Platinum, and then the blue business card is to keep getting points at a steady level as you go forward. 2 times the points and everything is amazing. And otherwise, in the Amex ecosystem, the Macy's card, I would use that at Macy's, nowhere else. The Caesars card, I know less about casino credit cards, but I imagine it gives you a bunch
First
of
two.
benefits at
So
Caesars.
and we have a video on this, but just to highlight this, I make sure on my Caesars card to spend $5,000 every year because then they will give me up to 5,000 tier
Mm.
credits, which will goes towards my status. So if I don't use that 5,000, and I mean, I don't get great rewards other than if I use it at Caesar's properties, I always use the Caesar's card always because you get it's multiplied points. Otherwise, I just try to do like my gas and that kind of stuff because I think it's 2 times on gas. So that's the reason I use that Caesar's card, and the same with my MGM. I work that, but MGM is unlimited tier credits where Caesars is only up to 5,000. So that's a
Interesting.
big note.
Interesting. Okay, let's go to Chase. In the Chase ecosystem, there are two ways their cards work. Either you earn their proprietary points called Ultimate Rewards, or you earn points in their partnerships. So they have a partnership with United, they have a partnership with Marriott, they have a partnership with IHG, a bunch of different partnerships. So the Ing Preferred card, they became really popular last year when they were introduced, and they had this enormous sign-up bonus of 120,000 points. I think you had to spend, it might have been 8,000 or maybe it was 6,000. It could have been less than the 8,000 you're talking about here. But one of the important benefits of the Ink Preferred card, as opposed to other Chase Ink cards that already existed, is that with the Ink Preferred card, you get allowances to transfer points to airlines and hotels. If you did not have another Chase card like the Sapphire Reserve or Sapphire Preferred, you normally would not be able to transfer points from Chase to an airline. So if you only had the Chase Freedom Flex, for example, it's a no annual fee card. It has rotating category bonuses. That's just cash back. If you partner it with something else like the Chase Sapphire Reserve or Chase Ink Preferred, then you can move it to airlines and hotels. So it's really important to have at least one of them within your ecosystem, a Sapphire card, the Reserve or the Preferred, or the Chase Ink Preferred card.
And those are both cards. I didn't note that on there, I see. And I specifically got those cards because we had a large spend and we wanted to do a 0%. And so I was very diligent with how I worked out that 0% to make sure that it's paid off by the time. So it's like 3 months was on one, 3 months on the other. And so, no, actually, I had to do 8,000 spend in 3 months and I had a 0% APR for 12 months on those cards. Worked it out so that can all be paid off by the 0%. But because it's a business card, it doesn't reflect on my personal credit score. So I felt comfortable doing that.
And also, what's unique about the Chase, but any business card does not count towards the 524 that I mentioned earlier. So you could keep signing up for business cards over and over again, and you would still retain whatever level you were before. So if you signed up for the Caesars card and MGM card in the past 2 years, and you got Ink Preferred after Ink Preferred, some people do these crazy things, you would still be considered 224 because business cards don't count towards that number.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So while I'm looking at this, I have a question. So for me, so Mike has the Chase Sapphire Reserve. We had myself on as an authorized signer until 2 weeks ago. We removed me off as an authorized signer because I know I want to get that Chase Sapphire bonus for 100,000 points. So because those Chase Ink Preferreds are business cards, when can I apply for that Chase Sapphire Reserve? When would you recommend doing that?
So it sounds like you're going to apply for the Sapphire Preferred card, not the Reserve.
Yes,
The Preferred is the lower annual fee. Yeah.
Okay. So let me back up. He had the Chase Sapphire Preferred.
Mhm.
He upgraded to the reserve and took me off as an authorized signer. So that was a big trick that we learned. We got a lot more benefits by going up to the reserve for him and then taking me off. So that was a mistake we made in the beginning, having each other on authorized signers. We have plenty of credit cards. We don't need to do that. So that's a big tip, and we'll talk more about that in that upcoming video too, Brian.
Mhm.
Uh, so yes, that's the situation where we're at. So because he can't get that Chase Sapphire preferred sign up
Right.
bonus, but I want to be able to get it.
Right. So it's great that you did that. And a lot of people are strategizing doing that for themselves. I actually did that almost 4 years ago. I had a Sapphire preferred card. I downgraded it. At the time, I was advised to wait 48 hours and then apply for the new one, which I did. I got the new bonus. It was all good. Some people say you should wait longer. I've been sort of stalking Reddit feeds because I was curious to see. Some people say you should wait 2 weeks. Some people say a month. Some people say a week. I don't know. I think probably a week or two is fine. So if you removed yourself on whenever you did April 1st, I mean, it says 4/25, so sometime in April. If it's been more than a week or so, I think you can apply for the Chase Sapphire Preferred. One of the things that may happen, just be aware, they might deny you up front, and then you'll have to call back for reconsideration and say, well, I'm actually not on Mike's Sapphire Reserve. Your documentation is wrong. Please check my account. Sometimes their algorithm will deny you, but a person will manually accept you. That's happened to me several times in my life. I unfortunately made this mistake yesterday where I called because I did apply for the Sapphire Preferred. I thought I had gotten the bonus 48 months ago. Turns out it was 45 months ago. I didn't realize that. So I'm not eligible for the bonus right now. So that's a key thing. But if the last bonus you got, or Mike got, was in 2018, in
What?
theory, he could also downgrade and apply for the Sapphire Preferred, but then you risk not getting it. You risk not having the benefits of lounge access, which the Sapphire Reserve gives you. And since you just upgraded, I would not get rid of it. Keep the Sapphire Reserve. It's got amazing new lounges opening up, including in Philadelphia. I haven't been to it yet. My wife has, and it's an amazing lounge here they have. So, but in answer to that big question, you could probably apply for the Sapphire Preferred, a week after you were removed. And if there's a problem, just call them, and they should fix it.
Okay, I'll probably wait till after May 1st, just to be sure. Or I just, you're right. So I was a little disappointed though with Chase. We love Chase. We've always used Chase United mileage. We put a lot of expenses on that card and we earn a lot of miles and we just trade them in with United. I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do, but we use all of our domestic flights. We do with United
Mhm.
mileage through Chase. But they had changed. They really increased our fee and really made some changes I'm not super excited about. One is taking away the 2-for-1 lounge access. So
Mhm.
we used to bring two people in. Now you can't do that until you spend up to $50,000 a year on that credit card. So that's something to watch. I noticed American Express is that way too, and it looks like Chase has gone that way as well.
Yeah, Amex changed that rule a year and a half ago or something. You have to spend $75,000 in the year. And then for the rest of that year and the following one, you get up to two guests for free, which is nice. I'm actually going on a trip tomorrow and bringing two friends into the lounge with me tomorrow, which is great. But you do have to meet that requirement. So it is a devaluation. And in the points and miles world, we talk about devaluations all the time. We say you should never hoard points because they might be worth half the amount tomorrow. So my wife and I, we actually discussed this and decided we always want to have enough points for two round trip business class tickets to Europe at any given moment. So I mentioned before the 140,000 amount as a round trip ticket to Europe. So we always have 280,000 points apiece minimum to make sure we could do a trip like that if we wanted to anytime. Anything on top of that, we use willy-nilly whenever we want to. So we just actually booked flights that I don't normally book for myself. It costs 150,000 points. We're flying home next March. We're going to a wedding of a cousin of mine in Israel. That flight home was 150,000 points, but it was nonstop, business class, LL, never flown that before, and we had the points. So we spent it.
Yeah, so that's a good way to look at it, guys. That's a good goal to set for sure.
Yeah.
So I know we don't want to keep going too deep in this, but okay, to keep going.
Sure. So basic gist, the Ink Preferred card gets 3 times the points on travel expenses. So if that's something that you do a lot, you could put a lot of spending on that card to get more points. But your Sapphire Reserve also gives you 3 times the points on travel. So it's kind of, it doesn't matter which one you use. The points can all be combined together. No big deal. So I have the Ink Preferred card now because I made this mistake of downgrading my Sapphire Preferred. So I have to keep it in order to transfer points to various airlines and whatnot. But if you don't need it because you have another card giving you the same exact benefit, it actually might be worthwhile to downgrade it next year, not cancel it, downgrade it because you already have something giving you 3 times the points. And then you'll just save that $95 a year, you know.
Right.
So that's how I look at it. Within an ecosystem, what do you have access to? My wife has the Sapphire Reserve card. I have the Ink Preferred. So I have to keep one in case I want to transfer points. She has to keep hers so she can transfer points. If I ever get another one, I'll just downgrade it. No big deal.
Right.
And then when it relates to your United cards, I'm not sure. It seems like you have the most expensive one, the United Club card or Infinite Club card, something like that. Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah. So
Well, they just increased that fee, so I put the new
right.
fee on there. That's absolutely my favorite, has been my favorite card in my wallet for a
Mhm.
long time. Um, because we get checked bags and we fly so often, those
Mhm.
free checked bags and even up to a 70 pound overweight bag,
Mhm.
we get two each. That's a big value for us. Um, and we really like having those United mileage, and I'm kind of like that. I keep 100,000 minimum for each of us,
Mhm.
just because if we need to take a quick trip to Biloxi or to Las Vegas or wherever we need to go, we've got
Right.
those there. If I need to find my daughter home, one way because it's easy to do that way. So we've used that card for that.
Mhm.
But now we've opened these other cards and also the lounge access. We love the lounge access. We do it every time we go to the and we have the $50,000 spend on there, so I don't think that's going to affect us this year, but I need to look
Mhm.
at that moving forward, if that's still going to be the better card. But that's the reason I love the Chase United mileage, and I don't mind paying that fee because we get way more out of it than that.
And I've done calculations like that before for large annual fees. I'll figure out how many times am I going to a lounge. I might think of that as, say, $20 of value every time because that's how much money I would have spent on food and drink outside the lounge. I think about what extra benefits it's giving me, like the benefit tracker I showed you, if I'm getting free bags and that kind of stuff. We have started reevaluating because we are doing sort of less domestic travel than we used to. We do mostly international trips. And for that, transferable currencies are usually better. You get better value out of every Chase point than you do out of a United mile. But domestically, I think you're right. Domestically, you're probably not going to get much better than United points for United flights. Now, Chase points do transfer one-to-one to United, so at a moment's notice. So that could be a way of just stocking up on United miles. You can think of your Chase points as United miles, but every time you fly United and you pay for it, then you do want to have some kind of United credit card to get you those free bags and other benefits. I've had the United Explorer card for a couple of years. It's the $95 annual fee one. That does give me free check bags. I don't know if it gives me the oversized one. That might be a benefit the higher up cards do. But you can do the math. I'm a math teacher. Figure out how many trips you've done usually during the course of the year, how many bags you've checked that you've saved, were any of them oversized that you would have had to pay an extra $70 for? And if it adds up to a value more than the annual fee of the card, keep it. Right?
That's
It's as simple as
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's a very, very good point. So do you know, when you travel on this around the world trip, do you still get the free checked bags on these Star?
Anytime you have a business class flight, it's going to have free checked bags, usually
Okay,
two.
two,
So
two per person.
yeah,
Okay.
two per person. So around some people actually do flights like that because they have to transport large amounts of stuff, and so they get a business class ticket for cheap because they want to do that.
My
But
friend
yeah,
said I only need to bring one suitcase, and I'm like trying to figure out how I'm going to be gone 6 weeks to 8 weeks and only have one
mhm.
suitcase. Maybe I've got to do a whole video on that.
My wife is convinced, and she sort of did for our honeymoon, bring just a carry-on for a 6 week trip. I haven't done that successfully. We have done a couple of trips recently where I was gone for like 10 days and I just packed a carry-on. I did laundry midway through and that was fine. But it also minimized what I could bring back from the trip. So if you want to get a bunch of souvenirs, you won't necessarily have the space unless maybe you buy a bag when you're abroad. Just depends on your, I don't know, comfort level of doing things in slight discomfort. That's
I
all.
think it's going to come into how often we're moving around and having to pull that luggage around. That's
Sure.
something to consider, right?
Yeah,
For sure
that's
on the
true.
trip. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
keep going. We're almost done.
Okay, almost done. So Discover cards I'm not as into because they're not like transferable currencies I use frequently, but there are some good benefits. We talked about this before. The Discover It card has its rotating categories, so you can get a whole bunch of money back right now for groceries and wholesale, which is good. And you can use those points to just give yourself cash back on a whole bunch of travel stuff, which is nice.
So this April to June, it's 5% grocery and wholesale, but it's a $1,500 cap.
Yeah.
So I'm tracking that in this app that I use that I'll share with you guys later, but to make sure and with our big family, that doesn't take us long to get there, but I definitely wanted that 5% cash back to stock away for this trip. So that's one of the ways that I'm going to take advantage is maximizing that 5 times category every time, every quarter if I can on that specific card. So I wanted to show that for sure. We don't need to talk about the ECU card. That is a credit union card that we've had for a long time. I think since our oldest card, 2016.
Mm.
We used to just use that. I used to have my credit cards all separated by business. So
Mhm.
this business would have this credit card, this business would have this because it made my accounting life way more easier since we have so many businesses. Um, but I would just use that card, and it was nice if we had to do a rental car. I just take those points and turn it in and get a free rental car,
Mhm.
which I still like to do that, but I think there's better ways for me to do that. So I'll probably stop using that card and just leave it open.
Yeah, and that's the key thing actually. Leaving cards open, maybe use it once a year so they don't close it on you. That actually helps your credit score in the long term because you have a longer history with that particular credit line, which is helpful.
Yeah, so that's
So
the thing is to not ever close your oldest cards because you want to keep those open for that reason, right?
yeah, generally that is the advice that I give people. People might say, I have this PNC card from 20 years ago. I'm about to close it. And I'll say, no, no, keep it open. It's helping you. So as long as there's no annual fee, definitely keep it. If there is an annual fee, then do some math and figure out if that longevity is worth it for you or you get other benefits. Generally, I'm a bit more fickle with credit cards and it's been okay because I have longevity from other cards. But yeah, the other strategy there is just if there's a card with annual fee, downgrade it instead of canceling it as long as you can. And then that one hopefully has no annual fee on it and you can just keep that one, which that's what I do.
Yeah, and then you see our USAA cards, which we don't use anymore, and I left some old notes on there going back from 18 and 19. That's funny that I left those on there and didn't take them off, but we don't use those cards either anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really give us much value. The Wyndham Earner card, we will start using that just to build that Wyndham
Mm-hmm.
as well. And I didn't get to because I've been focused on what you're saying, but I will tell you that we do have banked for years and not having the credit card, but we have 315,000 Marriott points, which I
Mm-hmm.
know will get us 4 nights somewhere. And if we use the 4 nights together, we get the fifth night free. So that is something we do plan on using somewhere on our around the world trip is those Marriott points for sure.
And that could potentially even get you more than 4 nights because every hotel carrier has its own whatever tier sheet. So if it's a lower tier hotel, either it's in a country that people travel to less or it's not as good as a hotel, you can get it for 20,000 points a night. And those points will go to multiple days, way more than four. I know when my wife and I were in South Africa, Marriott, I think, owns or has a partnership with the Protea brand hotels down there. I think we spent like 25,000 Marriott points a night and stayed at some place for 4 nights. So
Wow, that'll
you
be
can,
well,
you can spread those out.
yeah, really play around with those since I've never looked at it, internationally.
Mhm.
So hopefully this got helped you guys. We're going to do a bigger, deeper dive in that. I do have one question. Can you look through my opened dates? Because I really want the new MGM iconic card. I see a lot of value for us
Mhm.
and for even our casino people in that card. It does have a annual fee, but it's easy enough with what you get back, I think, to justify that. But the fact that you get, I think it's 5 or 6 times points back on MGM spend. We plan on coming to Pennsylvania, even though we live in Texas, and doing some of that online blackjack and online um, video poker. That card is going to be well worth having in our
Mhm.
wallet and helping us get to that tier level faster. So that card in that Chase Sapphire preferred card, how do you know when you can apply for another card?
So it depends on the bank. The bank has whatever restrictions it might have. I looked up that card when you told me about it. I think it's the First National Bank of Omaha, FNBO, which
Yes.
has its own set of rules distinct from Chase. So Chase cares about how many of its cards you've applied to in the past, whatever number of weeks, and also how many cards in general of the past 2 years. So I haven't looked specifically at the numbers and the dates, but you may not be allowed to get new Chase cards at this point if you've opened up so many of these cards in 2025.
So the Chase, that's business. Those are both business.
Right. So these are business, so that's fine. Business
Oh,
is fine.
okay.
This is more than 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago. So you open up, this is business, that doesn't count. This is within 2 years. This is the United one, but that's Mike, not you. So it has to do with only you. So you might be at 024. No, this one is 2024 in April. So that one is 124 so far. And let's see, this Belk card, this is a credit card or some other kind of card?
Credit card.
Okay, so that probably counts as 2. This is from Mike. Let's see, this is May. So this is 3. Synchrony Bank at Home would be 3. Yeah, that's about what I'm seeing here. In my perfunctory view of all these, I think you're at 324, which means you should be able to get a Chase Sapphire Preferred because you're under 524.
Okay, so when I look at that, so just to help viewers understand the 5 and 24. So if you're 1 of 24, I opened up a Wyndham. 2 of 24, I opened up a Belk. And 5 of 23, I had a Synchrony. So that's 3 credit cards. So 5 of 25. So next month, the Synchrony will fall off.
Right. And then you would be back at 224.
Okay, and then if I apply for that Chase, then I will be at 324.
Exactly. Yep.
So you can do more than 5 of total credit cards in 24 months. That's how that works for Chase.
Yeah. For Chase, yeah. For FNBO, I haven't checked the rules on that recently, but there are fewer FNBO cards out there in general. So if you haven't applied for an FNBO card in a while, you're probably fine. You can just apply for it. Even the same day that you apply for the Chase card, it's probably fine.
Is there a strategy to doing that, like when shopping for a car, get all your credit inquiries done, like boom, boom, do them at the same time?
There are some people that do that. Our friend Justin does that. He calls it an aporama because then the number of hard inquiries on your account is reduced because some cards do the same inquiry at the same time. I care less about that because I get points separate from sign-up bonuses pretty frequently. But there are amazing blogs and deep dives that can really explain that more in depth than me. But maybe for the next time I can do some research and we can talk more about that too. I know there are some rules that I know, but there are so many different credit card companies out there. It's hard to memorize all of them.
Okay, so one more thing I want to mention to our viewers, specific to this MGM Iconic, and we will be doing a deep dive on this. But my strategy that I'm using is I have a no annual fee MGM rewards card. And I'm going to keep that card because it's no annual fee. I have a great history with that. I have a great credit limit with that. So I can really work the online poker and blackjack and not have to worry about that. I am going to open up the MGM Iconic. I have an offer to where I could just upgrade. I don't want to do that because I want to get the bonus points. And I'm going to pay the fee anyway. So I might as well get the bonus points and not upgrade and keep both credit cards. There's no reason for me not to do that. So that's how I'm approaching. And many of the people that I've talked to that work that ecosystem as well, that's how they're approaching it. So that would be letting you guys know what I'm doing, what we're going to do on that. And then I will get my own card and Mike will get his own card as well. Because right now on our original MGM, we're both, excuse me, signers. But since we on purpose unlinked our MGM points at MGM casinos, our cards are unlinked on purpose so we get double offers. He needs to be building up his and I need to be building up mine separately so that we can maximize those casino points. We'll talk more about that also though in another video. Just wanted to give you that quick tip for our casino watchers on there that like to work that program. So I think that we are out of time. This has been so much fun, Brian. Before we go, I want to do a couple of just real quick rapid fire questions for you. So how are you earning your points these days? Give us a...
So the newest way I'm earning points is actually from our friend Justin. I have learned the joys of online gambling in Pennsylvania. I have a Chase credit card that gives me 5 times the points at office supply stores. I will go to Staples. I will buy a bunch of FanDuel gift cards. In that moment, if I buy $1,000 worth of gift cards, I get 5,000 points on my Chase account. I put those all on FanDuel. I use online blackjack, and he taught me to download and print this little cheat sheet for how blackjack is supposed to work. And I follow the grid. I love my spreadsheets, right? I follow my grid of if I pull a 7 and the dealer has a 4, what do I do? I pull a 17, dealer has a 10, what do I do? And on the whole, I have made, I think so far, like 50-ish thousand points in the past couple of months, and I'm up $150 for 2025. So I'm just going to keep doing that for fun because I enjoy it. That's my main thing that I do. And then on the side, my wife and I strategize every month or two which credit card to sign up for that'll give us the most points possible. And sometimes even then, I will do things crazy with online gambling to meet the minimum spending threshold of that. So those are the two main things we're doing these days.
Yeah, which is so interesting. People are kind of afraid of that online stuff. And lucky for y'all that you live in Pennsylvania.
Right.
You're in Pennsylvania, Michigan, or New Jersey, you can take advantage of that. So Mike and I actually booked a trip to Pennsylvania in August to a remote one of our timeshares. We're going to stay there a whole week so that we can practice this thing that we are not lucky enough to be able to do here in Texas. Hopefully, we get to meet up with Brian and Justin while we're there, since they both live in Pennsylvania. And our plan is just to kick back, relax, and not have a lot of fun. We'll do a live video with you guys and let you all play along with us and see how we do it. I think it'll be fun. And if it goes well, then we may book another trip this year to do it again. So so interesting, being creative with those points. So what is a favorite trip? What's your most favorite trip you've ever taken?
I've taken a lot, so I hesitate to say favorite, but memorable. I'll say on my honeymoon, I mentioned we did 10 countries in 7 weeks. One of the flights that we got to take was on Emirates first class, where we each got our own amazing cubicle thing. And this was even on the quote old first class, which is still pretty good. And I took a shower on the airplane. The floors of the bathroom were heated, which I thought was fantastic. So I
Amazing.
really enjoyed that flight.
Wow, that sounds like so much fun.
Mhm.
Another credit question. Too much credit available, is that bad? I hear that all the time.
Great question. It's bad if you spend it a lot. If you don't, if you have either the self-control or the wherewithal or whatever to not spend it, it's actually beneficial because there's a fraction, your credit ratio. How much money you could use goes on the bottom. How much money you actually do goes on the top. I think my possible usage amount is something like $300,000. I could buy a house with credit cards, but I tend to spend a couple thousand a month. So my ratio is like 1% if you do the math. And so credit agencies look at me and think, oh, he barely spends any money on his credit cards. We like him.
So having a lot of credit available, but using a very little of it.
Mhm.
And that was a trick I learned a long time ago. On any one credit card, you never want to utilize over 40%, is what I was told. So I don't carry a balance at all. But if I was to carry a balance, I would never carry more than a 40% balance on a credit card. But who can afford to have credit card balances with 28% interest?
Right.
As
Right.
Last question, dream trip you can't wait to take.
I have been to 6 of the 7 continents. I need to hit Antarctica. I want to go there. My wife also wants to go there. It's her 7th continent as well. So at some point, we're going to do one of those fancy cruises that you have to spend like $8,000 a person to go on. And so we're just going to save up for that in life, find a week or two to do it and do it. It
Or
might not
go
happen for a
watch
while.
our You Are Comped videos. Let's figure out how to get your status with these casinos. And then let's sign up with our link at this DJ, YourComp /DJ.
Mhm.
And we'll teach you how to get free cruises. And even if you can't get a free cruise at the Antarctica, we can get it for a really good price. So there's big strategy.
Okay.
And we
I'm
have
down
some
with that.
upcoming videos coming there as well. So Brian, this was packed with gold, literally, from credit card strategies, around the world adventures. And I know that our listeners are walking away inspired with all that you've taught us today, and where they can find you. Talk up to us about where they can find you, and how they can get a hold of you if they are interested in using your services or talking to you.
Sure thing. So the website is awardmagic.com. My email address has been up here the whole time because, of course, I love digital backgrounds. And I post pretty regularly on Instagram at awardmagic. I have not done it in the past week though, because I've been working with so many clients, but I like to post about the flights I get to take, the uses of your points, new deals coming out. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll get a heads up on stuff that's upcoming.
Very good. So be sure to stick around for our next episode that we're going to be doing with Brian. We're going to really dig deep and do some filling in of our spreadsheet, hopefully on that call that we get to do, and really digging deep into that. Post your questions in this comment if you have questions for Brian, and be sure to join our Facebook family, Destination Jackpot family on Facebook. It is a group, and it's a private group, so join us there. Hopefully Brian will join us. Thanks again for tuning into Destination Jackpot, where we show you how to turn your spins into sweets, your perks into planes, and credit into cash. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. You don't want to miss the next episode. Until then, keep dreaming and booking those jackpots. We'll see you soon.